Hey everyone. I know it's kind of late. Usually, I haven't went live on here around after 10, like in about 3 or 4 months. I just want to kind of drop a little quick word before I go to bed because I was just thinking about it. I was laying down and I was like, I could not sleep. I could not rest. And I just kind of wanted to touch base on this on when it comes to um, like controlling our mouths, controlling what we say. So that's why I named the subject the mouth has excuse me, the mouth has a mind of its own. And so there's more scriptures that supports that I wanted to talk about. And it also reminds me of when I was in church over the years, how they always talk about speak life and the power of life and death is in your tongue. And we have to realize sometimes um, we can either bless ourselves or we can curse ourselves or we could like curse other people or bless other people. So as believers, as Christians, we have to always make sure that we are speaking life to one another and even speaking life to ourselves. Um, that's what comes in like with your, self-esteem, your confidence in God. Mainly have your confidence in God first and ask Him to help you build confidence within yourself so that, you can always you uplift others and you speak life to your own circumstances and you can learn from learn from your own mistakes and just keep everyone in prayer and and keep and always keep yourself in prayer, keep others uplifted in prayer. um, your prayers are more effective, especially when you know exactly what to say and you have a great relationship with the Lord and you always communicate well with the Lord. And there's always room for improvement, there's always room to grow. And then when there's room to grow and um, room for improvement, um, it can go a long way. It can go a long way in everything that you touch in life, in everything that you do. It even helps with your thinking. So I wanted to I won't be on here too long. I tried to take up all of your time. um, I want to read um, first, and I like Proverbs a lot because it has so much wisdom, and not just like earthly wisdom or like school type of wisdom, going to school type of wisdom. It has um, pure wisdom from God. It has a wisdom that was like wisdom that was here on earth before everything that was made, and the true knowledge is having like the true wisdom. Um, so I wanted to read first, and I want to talk about. Oh, there's so many scriptures regarding like being slow to speak, um, like having life and death is in your tongue. Like whatever you speak, it'll come to pass, or whatever you speak, it'll manifest, or whatever you um, is very important um, to God that we have to watch what we say, watch what words we're using, etc. Um, I'm going to start with there's a scripture that's catching my eye, Philippians 2:14. Excuse me. It says Philippians 2:14. It says, "Do everything without grumbling and complaining." This is an English CSB version, but there's another version that says, "Do everything without grumbling, without murmuring." That's another word for murmuring and complaining. And so when the Lord blesses you, let's say anything he blesses you with, let's say he blesses you with a home or a roof over your head, or he'll bless you with a car, he'll bless you with friends, he'll bless you with relationship or friendship or anything. And of course, when he starts us off, um, like if he gives you a place to stay, in your mind you're thinking, okay, I want a huge mansion, but you're not all the way there, right? So when he'll bless you, to see how grateful you're going to be, to see how, if you're going to really thank him, um, and not grumble and complain about what you have, because that can really be offensive to God. Like, he'll bless you with something. You're like, I don't like this, and I want a bigger house, and da 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 da. And soon enough, he could just take those blessings right back away from you. And this is what you don't want to do. Being thankful is a will of God. It's part of the will of God. So when you be thankful in everything that you have, when God give you something, and that's why he says, do not despise the days of small beginnings. You have to have something to advance from. You have to have something to grow from. We don't just start off being advanced or huge or do it big with everything, um, especially right away. So sometimes it'll be a test. God will, he'll give us a test to see how, how thankful we will be. We'll either be very thankful, or you can be or you'll be ungrateful. He does not want us to be. And I have seen people who, when they just complain about everything, and then they don't have those things anymore. Not to say that everybody that loses thing in life was because it was due to complaints. It's not. It's, some people really are grateful for things and work hard for their things, and sometimes through financial circumstances or other unforeseen circumstances, they could lose things. But there are some people who, they don't struggle with finances, or they don't struggle with other things, and um, they'll just find something wrong. They look for problems. They find something wrong to say. And instead of being thankful for the promise, what people will do is they'll look for problems instead. And they'll be like, oh, well, why is this over here? Or it's too far. Or they'll say, and I've seen people who have been blessed with a relationship or a marriage, and people, they grumble and complain over the person that God sent them, or they grumble and complain over the marriages. And some people who have really prayed for a marriage most of their lives and they never got married. And then there's some people who get married and they grumble and complain, or they grumble and complain over their kids, or and I don't have any kids, but I can imagine how it can be like a lot of hard work raising children as a parent. But there's some people who like pray, like there's couples that pray to um, conceive, and then there's people who have children and they're complaining. So what I'm saying is, like, um, be thankful. And I know sometimes it can be hard to be thankful, but be thankful in every circumstance. Be thankful for everything, because it's it's the will of God. And a lot of times, people, they don't realize what they have until they lose it. And that's really sad. And it's like, it's immaturity. You don't want to get to a point where you have to lose stuff or lose people to realize what you have, because it's already too late. It's already gone. It's a done deal. You can't get those things back. And I just wanted to talk about, like, sometimes people could, destroy their own things, and they don't even, sometimes you can destroy your own blessings and you don't even realize it. So always ask, always be thankful to God about what He has blessed you with. Ask the Lord for wisdom for what to do in a certain situation that may not be pleasing to you, because you have to please God. And we just have to really be careful. And as I got older, I really value the old saying. Like when I was, you know, and my mother, today's her birthday, and this what really makes me think a whole lot about the wisdom that she passed on to me as a child when it comes to saying certain things. Like when I was like 9 or 10, I said something. Maybe it was a good thing I didn't remember. So I said something that wasn't good. It was I don't know, it was negative or something. And so, but I was a child. I was like 9 or 10, and then she told me. She said, don't say everything. That's the thing that that's the um, she has so much. She had so much wisdom. Um, and I wonder, I'm like, how did she raise 4 children and manage a home and be married? Like, how did very phenomenal woman, very very wonderful, powerful. I really miss her so much, but um, to this very day, I really hold a lot of value when she always told us, don't say everything. And then in school, our teachers would tell us something similar. They would say, if you don't have anything nice, don't say anything at all. She would say that to the entire class. I was at school, like at home, I was like very talkative with my friends and family because I was more comfortable around them and I trusted them. I had um, nothing against people on the outside or strangers. It's just that I didn't know them that well, and I did not. Because when I was at school, people always say, "You're so quiet. Why are you so quiet? Are you this quiet at home?" And I'm like, no. Sometimes I was just kind of shut down at school, and maybe in elementary school I was more talkative and happy and like a little social butterfly. But like as time went on, like in middle school, high school, for some reason I was a little bit timid. You dealing with body image or dealing with your social image, social skills, or um, you're self-conscious, or you're just worried about how you would socialize, how you would deal with people. And so I really hold value to a lot of what my mom told me about. Never, don't always, people just blurt out stuff, and I have really seen the destruction of people just blurting out stuff. And I know there's some people who have a personality where they say, hey, I say what's on my mind. I say what's on my mind, honey. That's how they already say take it or leave it. But I think when it comes to certain connections, especially the ones that are very valuable and important to you in your job or your future, sometimes we do have to zip it. Sometimes we have to really watch our tongue. Sometimes we really do have to watch, like they used to say back in the day, watch your mouth. Because your mouth can get you in trouble. Your mouth can cause you to lose things. Your mouth can sabotage everything. And sometimes you think it's the devil. It's not the devil all the time that's sabotaging. It's our thinking, it's our mindset, it's our mouth that could be, sabotaging. And you're wondering, oh, what did I do? What happened? And, you know, things happen super fast and you don't even know what's going on. So that's why I want to talk so much about, watching our tongue and um, really thinking before you speak. Because I have seen, and I've even been through this myself. Um, some people have uh, been friends with people for a long time, not like temporarily, but long time, and sometimes just by them spreading lies, spreading rumors, talking behind that person's back, and it circles back. When you talk behind someone's back, it'll circle back. And when it circles back to you, you can't explain it. You didn't think it would travel back, but it does travel back some kind of way. They'll find out. And or if you keep complaining all the time about the person, and sometimes that person really, you think that person's a problem, and the enemy will tell you, the enemy will get in your ear and tell you this person is a problem, where it's not really a problem. It could be like maybe a personality clash, or maybe it's a mirror effect. Maybe something about that person is mirroring something that's inside of you, or vice versa, or you could be mirroring what's inside of the other person. And it could be like, it's all about what's in your mind. So when you like I said, think before you speak, and instead of always being blunt, you have to realize, okay, this may hurt someone's feelings. And I know people aren't really into protecting feelings. I'm not talking about treat them like a baby, but I'm just talking about, like, there are some things that you say to someone that that would hurt them, or you like for instance, um like if you're a child and you go visit your friend's house, and if you go back and tell your mom, or but she'll tell you, don't say all of that, you know or if we used to go back and like, hey, we're concerned about this with our friend, what do we do? And she'll say, don't do that, because that that can hurt, that person. So there is a difference. um there is it's a huge difference of what we can say to help people, and what you can say that will outright hurt people. And we just have to really be careful. um so I want to read more okay, I'm going to read in Proverbs. Um, Proverbs 18:13. It says, "The one who gives an answer before he listens, this is foolishness and disgrace for him." Proverbs 18:13. You know how if you ever tell somebody, or I don't like to say constructive criticism, but if you kind of confront that person about how they've hurt you, or what you have heard them say about you, and they and before you can even finish your sentence, they're already interrupting you. They just keep interrupting you. They keep cutting in front of you. They keep cutting your words. They try to stop you from talking, um, before you can even speak. that is a sign of foolishness. And somebody who is like unteachable, or if they don't like being corrected, because they feel like if they're being corrected, they're like, they're wrong, or they're not wrong, but they feel like they're a bad person if they're being corrected. And I know there's a lot of things that people can say that, hey, you said this about, let's say, for instance, my car, or you said this about my child. There's some things that people do say that you just cannot take back. And if you're in a relationship or friendship or business or whatever, or at work, and someone pulls you over and tells you about yourself, or tells you about the things that you say, and you don't want to hear it, you won't even allow that person to talk. That's the sign of foolishness and ignorance. Okay, so we have to be slow to anger, slow to speak. And a lot of times, in order to have that thriving relationship or thriving business or whatever that you've always wanted, sometimes we do have to be quiet, even though it's annoying sometimes. Um, Allow that other person to talk, and then when that person is finished and talking, the other person, everybody has to give each other a chance to really speak their minds. But some people, they like to do things like one-sided. They're like, I'm going to tell you everything about you, and you, and what you did wrong. But when it comes for them to receive the word of what someone else is saying, they don't want to accept feedback. They shut you down. So it's really unhealthy to just shut the other side down and want that person to be quiet and you speak your piece. That is not biblical. Okay, that's, you know, if you have the power to speak about what that person has done to you, then you should have wisdom. Be very quiet and allow that person to speak as well, because it's disrespectful um, to another person. Because sometimes some people don't like correction. They'll say, "Oh, I don't have time for foolishness," and it's not foolishness. It's foolishness when you don't want to listen. Okay, it's foolishness when you don't want to receive correction. It's foolishness when you're immature and you do all the talking. You're not saying anything. And, you know, um, but talking at the right time and listening is all about um, the the timing. Um, so it says, we're back in Proverbs. Yeah, Proverbs 17:28. I'm going to read in the NIV version. Was that 17? Is it? Okay. I'm reading the NIV version. Chapter 17, verse 28. It says, even fools are thought wise if they keep silent, and discerning if they hold their tongues. I want to I want to read that again. Proverbs 17:28 says, even fools, people who are considered fools are called fools. If you are a fool, you are thought wise if sometimes you listen and you know keep silent. And it doesn't say about being a man or being a woman. This word applies to everybody in this verse. It says, even fools are thought wise. They're thought to be wise if they keep silent, and discerning if they hold their tongues. You're considered wise, and you consider more discerning. When sometimes when there's a time to speak and there's a time to be quiet. Sometimes we do have to be quiet and allow feedback, because that's how we learn. That's how we grow. Because if one person is doing all the talking all the time, one person is doing all the correcting all the time, it could be very, um, it can be very destructive. And I want to read in chapter 18, verse 1. It says, an unfriendly person pursues selfish ends, and against all sound judgment starts quarrels. Like they start a fight, or and they start fights, they start conflict. And and also this scripture is sticking out to me, where it says, chapter 16, verse 28. I love this scripture. It says, a perverse person stirs up conflict, and a gossip separates close friends. So like when you're gossiping about your friend, talking about your friend behind their back, like I was saying earlier, it'll come back, full circle. And then there's a lot of things that could just kind of separate um, a close friend. Proverbs 21:23, it says, the one who guards his mouth and tongue, like your lips and your tongue, keeps himself out of trouble. Now, this is a powerful word right here. Proverbs 21, verse 23. That's the CSB version. It says, the one who guards his mouth and tongue keeps himself out of trouble. So, like, if people are always saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, they don't think, even if, sorry, even if, even if they, even though you're an adult, there are still some times you just cannot say everything. This is what um, my mother always told me: don't say everything. People just blurt out stuff, and they don't have any regard of how that person may hurt inside, or how it can put them down, or it can hurt their self-esteem. They just keep blurting out stuff, and then they wondering why things end up the way that they end up. you know and in this generation, in this time, um in 2025 especially, people have gotten to the point where everything is uncensored. They don't care what they say. They have this in your face approach, and and they don't censor anything. They just say, if they feel like they want to talk about your family and attack your family, they'll say that. If they want to attack your self-esteem, or even attack your faith, there's some people who will even attack your faith in God. They'll just blurt out stuff. They don't think. You have to, you know, use your head. You have to use your brain and think, okay, I'm not saying sugarcoat anything either. I mean, you can say the truth, but you know, don't say everything. It's just not wise. It's not smart. For instance, okay, let me give you an example. Somebody invites you to their house, and let's say their house isn't clean, or let's say if you saw a bug or something, um, or if their furniture is not perfectly coordinated, you don't ever tell them, "Oh, your furniture is tacky." Or you don't say, "Oh, your house is dirty, ma'am. Your house is dirty, sir. Your house is," because, I guess if you were raised from by an old school mom, they have those they have those good values, and even if it is, you may probably politely excuse yourself out, or just, but because, you know or let's say if they're wearing clothes, their clothes is messed up, or their clothes is wrinkled. Now that's different if they're like, if you're their boss and they come to work that way. You know, um, you just politely pull them to the side and tell them. You don't. You just it's just some things that you just don't say. And so we have to get to those days, back to the days where you can say things, especially. And people don't even realize when you're on a date with somebody, this is a huge thing too. When people are on a date, I used to watch this dating show, I think it was in the early 2000s or late 90s, where a guy and his girl was on a date, and instead of and they didn't pay for it, it was paid for by the show. And instead of them really enjoying themselves, they just started attacking each other. They started verbally attacking each other. Like, that was the weirdest thing, but I never forgot it. It's like the guy was attacking her looks, and sometimes the woman will start telling him what to do, like he's her son. And you know what happened on the date? When the guy just I think it was another episode where the guy just kept attacking her verbally. He kept putting her down. It was something petty. They couldn't even have a date. That is really sad when you can't even sit down and enjoy a dinner date, just food. And dating is important because it's not sex. We're not talking about sex. We're talking about relating with the opposite sex, and having table manners and learning what to say. Sometimes we have to really date because you have to learn how to date, because it's not even always about, it's not, it's, it has nothing to do with getting physical. It's about like how you conduct yourself, what you say to people, you know, the things that, what you, how you carry yourself, everything is important. So on that date, after he kept attacking her verbally, she told the camera people, she was like, cut, like she was done with the date. So they had to cut the date short. So I don't know if it was actors or what, but I'm pretty sure it was real, because people have people do date, but people that they are very rude to in real life. So, you know, they couldn't finish the date. But that's how it is in real life now, when, you know, you can't even have a perfect, you can't even have a decent, civilized conversation with people anymore, because all people do is nitpick. You can nitpick yourself out of a blessing. You can talk yourself out of a blessing. You can talk yourself out of um, a relationship, or out of a blessing, out of a friendship that God was about to bless you with. And this is another thing I've always heard over the years too. Like, when you hear people in your group say that, okay, um, I asked the Lord that, there's something wrong with this person, take them out of my life, remove them out of my life. And then at the same breath, they say, well, I can't find anyone. I don't think the person was always bad necessarily. Sometimes people don't give people the benefit of the doubt. They so quick to prejudge. and they expect perfection, but then they wonder why they don't have anyone. I think it's because you can pray away your potential suitor. You can pray away your potential mate, or you can pray away your best friend for life. You can, we have to really be careful. We have to have a spirit of discernment, of course, but we have to be slow to speak sometimes. And sometimes people like putting their foot in their mouth. Like, I'm like, how many slips of the tongue can you have? So, just always be mindful of what you say to people, because what you say in a negative way can like diminish everything. It can go a long way as far as that person remembering, and that could be a huge turn off when you just blurt out stuff. And it doesn't matter where you came from, what background you come from. Sometimes people may use their past as an excuse. They say, well, I came from this, but as an adult is no excuse. You should know by now to, you know, kind of filter your words, kind of like at least watch what you say, especially to the person that you are potentially interested in, because you could really put your foot in your mouth, and then there probably could be it could be undone, or may not be reversible. Maybe there not be anything that they can do about it. But um yeah, I want to yeah. So when talking about guard his mouth, so the one who guards his mouth and tongue keeps himself out of trouble. So meaning like, when you watch, it means like when you kind of guard your mouth, when you watch what you say, or sometimes you may want to blurt out a secret to somebody. And you know have you ever said something before and you feel like the Lord or the Holy Spirit, you know kind of seals your lips closed? It's kind of like, you know putting his hand over your mouth, like saying be quiet, because there are times when we really do have to be quiet. And man or woman, doesn't matter. If the Lord is telling you, okay, don't say this right now. We all make mistakes. We are definitely all human, but it's really not good for you to always tell that person, point out their faults and their wrongs, and you cannot receive the same feedback, because in reality is everybody does. Everybody has made mistakes. Everybody has done wrong. Everybody has said the wrong things at some time or another. So I just want to. I was on here longer than I thought. I might have to make a part two, because there's so many scriptures about, um, you know, being slow to speak, and like, being slow to anger. And I was trying. Oh, I think I'll just do another part to it later, because it's getting late. But thank you. If you are tuning in, thank you for tuning in. For the new subscribers, thank you to my new subscribers. Hopefully you will enjoy my content, keep viewing my content, and give it a thumbs up. And for the new viewers, thank you for viewing. God bless you. Have a wonderful night.